Hello and welcome to our kitchen. With me today is my mother, Sandy Urian, my sister, Rebecca Urian, and I am Amanda Urian Fairley. And we are going to be making an apple pie with a double crust. So, ready, set, here we go. Let's go. All right, so we're gonna start with our double crust. And I have already added the sugar and the salt into the 2 cups of flour here. So I'm gonna add that mixture into my mixing bowl. And then I am gonna take 3/4 cup of butter and add that to the flour. And then we will be cutting that flour with the butter to start our crust. You can use a pastry cutter or you can use a fork to cut that butter into the flour. I prefer a fork because I have a little bit more control over getting that butter into the flour to make sure that it is good and mixed in for our crust. You can see as that kind of clumps up there, that is naturally what our mixture should start to look like. Right, so now that our mixture is nice and crumbled here, we are going to go ahead and add our egg mixture. So this is 1 egg beaten with a 1/4 cup of water. So we're going to add that in and stir it around, and that will give us our ball of dough to start with. We have cleaned off the countertop over here, and so I am then going to put that dough out on the counter and roll our crusts out. So I've went ahead and added some flour to my countertop here so that my dough doesn't stick. This is a double crusted recipe. So if you are only planning to do 1 crust, you can cut the recipe in half for the crust. And so I've got my dough ball here and I'm going to split it in 2 and then roll them out onto my floured surface. All right, I've went ahead and I've added some flour here to the rolling pin, and I've started to roll out our first crust. And so you may have to add some extra flour in order to ensure that it does not stick to the rolling pin. Kind of roll it out until we have a good solid piece to lay flat into our pie dish. All right, so I went ahead and I have slid a sheet under here so that the pie crust is lifted a little bit. What I like to do is put the pie plate on top of the crust, and then I will slide this off and flip it over. And then I can just reposition it, but it is already inside of my pie dish. Once you get your pie crust into your pie dish in there really well, we're gonna go ahead and just shave off the edges here to make sure that we don't have any pie crust overhanging. So we're just gonna snip that off and set our pie crust aside, and then we will get started on our pie filling.
Okay, we are going to start with mix up our apple pie filling. And we're first going to start with 3 cups of cored and sliced apples. And then next is we're going to sprinkle in 3 tablespoons of flour, 1 cup of sugar. Then we're going to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon.
Okay, so now I'm going to mix the apples. I want to coat them with the flour and sugar and the cinnamon to prepare them for going into the pie crust. So now I'm going to pour our coated apples into our pie dish. So now we're putting them into the pie dish. You want to make sure that they're evenly spread throughout the pie dish. They look delicious, don't they? Okay, you want to make sure that you scrape the bowl to make sure you get all of that yumminess right there into the bowl, into your pie, just like that. So now I'm going to just dab the butter over the pie. I'm going to just make sure that you evenly space it out. Ooh, and then I will pour the milk, or 3 tablespoons of milk, over top of our pie.
What are you doing over here, Sandy?
I am rolling out the top crust of the apple pie. And, oh, by the way, our apples are Delaware grown.
All right, so now I'm going to put the top crust on top of our pie. Perfect, just like that. Okay, so now
Seal the edges.
I am sealing the edges, or fluting them, as you call it. And then it'll put a nice little decorative touch on it as well once it bakes. So now I am going to be cutting the vents in the top of our pie. I already started right there and did the first one, so now I'm going to do about 6 around the pie. So you just kind of make like a leaf shape as cutting around it. And you just pour it out like that, and then you have your little vent. Okay, so now I'm going to be trimming the edges now that I have finished making our vent holes. So I'm just trimming the edges around the side.
I'm doing a egg white wash onto the pie.
Okay, so now it is time for our beautiful pie to go into the oven. So we are gonna put our special ring on our pie crust so that it doesn't burn. And then we're gonna go ahead and put it in the oven.
We're cooking it on 375 for 40 to 45 minutes. Can't wait.
Our pie is now complete, it's perfect.
Take a look. You can do it too.
Thanks for watching.
What you doing over here, Sandy?
Trying to separate an egg and it didn't work out so well.